Good evening. I wish to call the Lee County Board of Commissioners October 18th, 2021 meeting to order, please. If I could have everyone please stand, if you are able, for the invocation, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Heavenly Father, we come to you tonight, Lord, just seeking your will and your way, Lord. As we do the business for this county, Lord, just grant us the wisdom to do the right thing, Lord, in your eyes first and in our citizens next, Lord. We love and praise you tonight. We give you glory and thank you for everyone that's come out tonight to represent our county, Lord. We pray to you and love you in the name of Jesus. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
How you doing, Carter?
I would like to request additions to the agenda. We're going to need to add 2 closed sessions, one for personnel and one for economic development. And we're going to move the Health Department resolution after the public hearing on the zoning map amendment application and staff report. So that'll be item 3B.
3A.
3B, got the zoning map amendment.
Oh, I see, yes.
And I apologize that the paper had intimated that there would be a public hearing on the redistricting. So what we've done is, if you are doing a comments on redistricting, you'll have 3 minutes in the public comment segment to speak on behalf of redistricting. And there is one individual here for rezoning. And for those that are doing the rezoning comments, we'll have a public hearing for that. That's a specific public hearing for rezoning. So that would be Perry and Savannah Gray. And if you would just come up during rezoning hearing, you can speak then. Any other additions to the agenda?
I have one. I'd like to request that map G be added to the map discussion tonight.
This is under old business, vote a redistricting plan resolution.
If that's where you fit it, yes.
We can put it as letter B. And that's under old business.
Would that be C? We have the B.
Yeah, I'm looking at 5B.
Oh, I'm sorry.
C, yeah.
I'm not on the wrong page.
Where are we discussing the maps, A and F?
We're voting on the redistricting plan that has the resolution for the map F that we had passed on the last meeting. So if you want to discuss it during that period, we can do that.
Well, I'm just trying to find out what the order should be.
We'll,
G was the last map added, as I understand it.
yes, you asked for that, yes.
And when were we planning on discussing it?
Like I said, we voted on the districting of map F on our last meeting. So you can discuss it when we're coming up for the vote on redistricting if you wish.
All right, if it fits there.
Anything else on the agenda? Do I have a motion?
Move to approve.
Motion has been made to approve the agenda as amended. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Approval of the consent agenda, please.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion we approve tonight's consent agenda.
Approval of the consent agenda motion has been made. Any discussion?
I'd like to comment on the library. This $1,600 stipend reflects the work that the librarians are doing to reach out and find different ways to fund different programs for the library. And it's just one of many that they do, and I just want to congratulate them for the work they do.
Thank you. Any other comments? All those in favor of approving the consent agenda as written, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. We now have opportunity for a public hearing, zoning map amendment, application, and staff report. Ms. Amy McNeil.
Good evening, Commissioners, Planning Board members, and staff. This information is on pages 12 through 36 of your agenda packet. The site is illustrated on the screen behind you. And there are several maps in your agenda, including an aerial image. I'm going to go back to the most recent survey because that's the most accurate depiction of the property lines. Savannah Gray is requesting to rezone a newly created 2.24-acre tract of land with frontage on Greenwood Road from residential restricted to residential agricultural. The land is part of the McGilvery family land, of which Ms. Gray is a descendant and was deeded to Ms. Gray in 2021 so that she could live near her family. Ms. Gray plans to develop her land with a new manufactured mobile home as her residence. However, the current residential restricted zoning allows modular and site-built homes, but not manufactured or mobile homes. Therefore, she has submitted this zoning map amendment application for your consideration. This is a standard general use rezoning request as opposed to a conditional rezoning request, which means that no site plan or subdivision plans or building plans are required as part of this rezoning process. I'll flip to the aerial image so you can have an overview of the area. Once again, the subject property is currently zoned residential restricted, which is established to provide for low-density single-family uses with a 30,000 square foot lot size. Permitted uses are residential single-family dwellings, site-built and modular, and also parks, playgrounds, athletic fields on a non-commercial basis, and churches. The proposed zoning of residential agricultural is established to provide areas for low-density single-family uses and low-intensity agricultural operations. The minimum lot size is 40,000 square feet, and it allows single-family residences that are site-built homes, modular homes, or manufactured/mobile homes. The adjacent zoning is residential restricted. However, there is residential agricultural zoning approximately 320 feet from the site on the opposite side of Greenwood Road. The residential agricultural is illustrated in green, and the residential restricted is illustrated in the peach color. Adjacent uses to the north is wooded land and a house at 2149 Greenwood Road. To the south are farm fields, wooded land, and a house at 2305 Greenwood Road. And to the east and west are farm fields and wooded lands. Regarding utilities, there's public water in the right-of-way of Greenwood Road, and all development on this site must utilize a private septic system. The applicant has already been through the Lee County Environmental Health perk test process and knows that there are suitable soils on site for her new home. If rezoned, all of the uses permitted in the RA zoning district would be allowed, and any future redevelopment of the subject property would be required to meet the current development standards of the UDO. With regard to development standards for a new house, that would simply be minimum building setbacks of 30 feet from the front, measured from the right-of-way of Greenwood Road, 30 feet from the rear, measured from the rear property line, and 15 feet from the left and right side property lines. And we've already reviewed a site plan that verifies conformance with these minimum building setbacks. The long-range plan identifies the front portion of this property as countryside, which has the following characteristics: undeveloped lands outside of urban service area, preservation of the county's agricultural heritage is encouraged, conservation and maintenance of a rural lifestyle supported with limited residential density. And the local example is Avents Ferry Road corridor in northeast Lee County. And there is information regarding the land use plan included within your agenda for your reference. Planning staff recommendation. The long-range plan designation of countryside lists single-family detached dwellings as an allowed land use. but does not get into the specifics of the construction method of the home. Residential agricultural and residential restricted are the current zoning districts, with agricultural and countryside residential listed as future recommended zoning districts. But once again, we speak to the overall land uses encouraged, but not to the actual construction methods of the proposed homes. There is residential agricultural zoning approximately 320 feet from the site on the opposite side of Greenwood Road, as illustrated on the zoning map behind you. The proposed land use of low-density single-family residential is appropriate for both zoning districts, and staff was unable to find a definitive reason for the placement of the boundary between the residential restricted and the residential zoning districts in this area. Given that the site was formerly a farm field, which corresponds with the agricultural component of the residential agricultural zoning, and that this is a rural area with existing low-density single-family residential development, staff supports this rezoning request, as it appears to be reasonable since the site is already residential agricultural in character. Additional information presented at the public hearing should also be considered in the recommendation and the final decision regarding the requested zoning map amendment. This concludes the staff report, and I will pause at this time to answer any questions that you may have, and the applicant and her husband are here with us this evening.
Thank you, Amy. Is there any questions for Amy or the applicants? Seeing there are none, I now open the public hearing for redistricting from residential restricted to residential agriculture. Is there anyone here who wishes to speak in favor of the matter? Please come forward. Please state your name as well as your address.
I'm Perry Gray.
And your address, sir.
Currently, it is 5948 Ponderosa Road, Sanford, North Carolina.
Go ahead, sir.
I'm the applicant in question for the rezoning. So I just need to say why we want to rezone.
If you're in support of it, yes, sir.
Yes, sir. So my wife and I, we have a 5-year-old, a 3-year-old, and one on the way. My wife grew up in the Greenwood School District, and currently we're on Harnett County lines, but in Sanford. And our daughter will be starting kindergarten next year. So right now, due to COVID, the stick building process has been very difficult for us to find contractors, find material, find everything. So this is just possibly a temporary, this is just a thing that we can do to get our daughter in school in the Greenwood School District before the upcoming school year.
Okay, thank you. Any questions of the applicant? That's it, sir. Thank you. Anyone else, anyone opposed to the redistricting? Anyone else for the redistricting off Greenwood Road? Going once, going twice. Public hearing is now closed on the redistricting. Mr. McNeil, is the planning board going to convene? Thank you, members of the planning board. Appreciate it. Oh, congratulations on the new grandbaby. Next item on the agenda is the Health Department resolution, and I'll turn it over to Madam Vice Chair.
Yes, I think Dr. Connect was going to introduce it.
Thank you. I think we as the board like to recognize the Health Department for the work they've done and continue to do with this ever-changing COVID pandemic. And I think we're all in agreement that we'd like to recognize the health director and his staff for the job well done. Thank you.
Absolutely. And with that, I will read our resolution. It is a resolution in recognition of the Lee County Health Department's efforts in response to the COVID-19 pandemic. Whereas the Lee County Board of Commissioners wishes to recognize the significant efforts and contributions made by Health Director Heath Kane, the 34 employees of the Health Department, along with their coordinated efforts with volunteers and other agencies to provide immediate and ongoing response to the COVID-19 pandemic. And whereas the Health Department has continuously adapted to the evolving resources that have been made available to help mitigate the spread of COVID-19. And whereas the Health Department has served as a vital resource connecting the Lee County community to a variety of options for testing and vaccination, along with educating the public as information regarding safe practices and recommendations are made available. And whereas the Health Department has committed dedicated efforts to keeping the community informed of the spread through contact tracing, and whereas the Health Department has utilized relationships with numerous organizations and businesses in the community to disseminate current information and provide timely access to resources as they have been made available through the State Department of Health and Human Services. And whereas the Health Department has served a critical role in providing a path towards resiliency in the wake of the pandemic's impact on the community. And whereas it is the desire of the Board of Commissioners to recognize and express their appreciation for the valued efforts made by the Lee County Health Department in response to the unprecedented effects of the COVID-19 public health crisis. Now therefore be it resolved by the Lee County Board of Commissioners that it hereby recognizes the tremendous work and dedication of Lee County Health Department in its COVID-19 response efforts. Presented this 18th day of October 2021.
Heath, could we get you and your staff to come up? Probably.
You could just come right here and we'll get a picture.
We're going to get a picture. Haley's right there waiting for us.
And Mr. Kane, if you want to hold up the resolution. You guys gonna come in the picture?
I'm not quite sure.
I believe it. Just squeeze in a hole. I think we'll get it. Whatever. Thank you.
See the manager for a frame.
Glad to get him one.
Next item on the agenda is public comments.
Chairman Smith, before we move forward, can we get a motion to adopt that resolution, please?
Oh, I'm sorry.
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Motion's been made to adopt the resolution in recognition of the Lee County Health Department during the recent COVID crisis we dealt with. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you very much. Thank you, Madam Clerk. Next item on the agenda is public comments. Just a reminder, when you come to the podium, please state your name and your address, and then you will have 3 minutes. The county attorney will let you know when your time is up. First individual on the list is Linda Rhodes. If you come forward, please.
Linda Rhodes is Rhodes, and my address is 602 North Vance Street here in Sanford, 27330. This board recently engaged in defining the boundaries for county commissioner electoral districts. Unfortunately, this process has lacked the transparency that Lee County voters have experienced in the past and the respect that our citizens deserve. Even though the county attorney advised against it, at least 2 county commissioners requested information that North Carolina courts have ruled should not be considered when drawing electoral maps. Commissioners Smith and Carver made it known they wanted to use political and voter data to create maps, therefore using partisan data for political gain. And what about the surprise 6th map supported by 4 county commissioners that was distributed during the October 4th meeting? A map that had not been revealed to the public or to the 3 other county commissioners prior to arriving at the meeting. It is clear that Map F was created for only one purpose: to dilute the minority population in District 1. This board has also failed to solicit any public comments on Map F's potential changes to minority opportunity districts. Without a public hearing, voters have been denied the right to ask questions, provide suggestions, or hold the board accountable before a vote occurs. The 4 commissioners that have engaged in this underhanded and unethical behavior have only one concern. They only care about not getting caught with their hand in the cookie jar. It is impossible to shame these type of people into doing what is right. So instead of talking more about them, I want to talk a little bit about the citizens of Lee County. The citizens of Lee County, who I know well, are fair-minded, hard-working, good people. If you walked up to 10 people in the county and asked them to describe themselves, not one would start out by saying Democrat or Republican. They would talk about their family, where they go to church, how their garden did this summer, and they would need to hurry up because they have a neighbor that needs their help or they need to pick up their child from school. That is who represents Lee County, and we deserve better than the potentially discriminatory actions supported by 4 commissioners. Our citizens are smart. We're not stupid. We recognize folks that have gotten too big and mean-spirited in their actions. We recognize them for the bullies they are, and we see clearly that these 4 commissioners do not exemplify the values of Lee County. I only pray they stop trying to divide us and harming our county for their own political gain. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Kathy Griffith.
My name is Kathy Griffith. I live at 304 South Main Street in Broadway. I am here to object to the manner in which the redistricting vote was handled. It showed less than transparency to spring a plan on the commissioners that the public had never seen. I wonder why Plan E, as developed by the Lee County Strategic Services, was not considered, in that it had a mere 0.25% deviation from the ideal. The commissioners here are sworn to represent every man, woman, and child in this county, regardless of who votes, who does not vote, or who votes for whom. I think in your haste to grab the opportunity to rule the citizens, you have neglected your duty to serve the citizens.
Thank you, ma'am. Next person on the list is Frankie Spinks.
Hello. I'm Lucretia Reeves, actually, 473 Oak Branch Lane. Following a 1989 lawsuit that prompted fair...
Ma'am,
Excuse me?
just stop the clock. You're not Frankie Spinks?
No.
Okay,
I'm Lucretia Reeves.
Frankie Spinks is the next person on the list here, please. She left? Okay. And you're going to speak on her behalf?
Yes.
Okay. Please let us know your name, please spell it, and then give us your address.
You said spell it?
Aye.
Lucretia Reeves, Lacrecia, last name Reeves, Reives.
Thank you.
Yes, 473 Oak Branch Lane, Sanford. Following a 1989 lawsuit that prompted fair election methods, Lee County acknowledged the need to increase the opportunity for Black voters to elect candidates of their choice to the board. Since then, District 1 has been the board's only minority opportunity district and has consistently enabled Black voters to be able to elect their candidate of choice. The Lee County Board of Commissioners' proposed Plan F manipulates District 1 and undermines the ability for Black voters in Lee County to elect their candidate of choice. The same tactics of excluding Black voters that led Lee County to change its election methods and place the county under the scrutiny of the Voting Rights Act are at work again in proposed Plan F. Why are we having this fight again? Please consider other options like Map A, which represents a map closest to the current composition of the districts, limits the population deviations of the commission districts to acceptable levels, and does the best job of preserving this Black opportunity district. Do not dilute the minority votes. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Next individual on the list is Theresa Spinks. Theresa Spinks.
My name is Theresa Spinks, and I want to say something about the redistricting map that you all have drawn up. Now, this is my opinion. I don't think it's...
Ma'am, you need your address as well, please.
I can't hear you.
Your address, please.
409 Sandley Drive, Sanford. I don't know if it I don't think it affects me, but what I've seen, the part that it does affect, it don't seem fair. And a person that's supposed to be representing me, I would rather for them to be from my district or know something about my district or the whole town of Sanford, and not a stranger or somebody that decide they want to run for office. And the way you all got, what I've seen about the map that you all have drawn up, my opinion, I don't like it because it don't seem equal and fair. That's all I can say.
Thank you, ma'am. Next person on the list, I believe it's Philip Cheeks. Checkus. Thank you, sir. I apologize.
My name is Phil Checketts. I reside at 2215 Southern Road. I'm a resident of Lee County and a proud Christian. I believe in God and His Son, Jesus Christ, and sadly in our country today. Being a Christian means that the media and other entities will attack me, just like they did our lieutenant governor. I'm okay with that. I never regret my beliefs, nor do I deny them, but I am not here for myself today. I'm here for my children and for the grandchildren that I hope to have someday. You see, I need to be able to face them and tell them that during the fight for our country's freedom and our morality, I got involved in that I stood up for them. So the reason why I'm here speaking to you today is because I believe that what we have going on today is a direct result of a fraudulent election. And I believe that 55% of the country, if not more, believe that what we have going on today is a result of a fraudulent election. So why am I talking to the county board about this? Because we have a severe credibility issue in our country in regard to the election of 2020, and rightfully so. I want you to know that I voted for some of you here and that I support you. I also don't believe that we have a problem here in Lee County. And because of that, I'm coming to you and asking you to do a full forensic audit here in the county so that we can prove to our citizens that we do have free and fair elections here in Lee County. When I say a full forensic audit, it's got to be an audit that's not run by Republicans, it's not run by Democrats, it's got to be run by an outside third party. Why? Because if I'm a bank teller and I'm audited, I most certainly can't count my own drawer. It's got to be an impartial audit. And I'm sure there may be objections. We may say that we don't have funds, that we have no proof of fraud, or that the machines are not connected to the internet. But now we know that other states and counties have said this, and we were proven wrong. We have got to hold ourselves accountable. This is critical to moving forward in our country. There's no reason and no excuse that's valid for not having this audit performed. If we can't have faith in our election process, nothing else matters. And I think that's what a lot of the people here are saying today. They feel like they're not being represented like they should be. So, nothing else to me other than the credibility of these elections is more important. I don't feel we can move forward as a country. I don't feel we can unite as a people. I don't think that the people trust us anymore, either our government or the government that sits up in Washington, D.C. So let me end by saying this. This is not a Republican issue and this is not a Democrat issue. Race, gender, or religious beliefs have no bearings on this issue. We must put aside any differences that we have in regards to this, and as citizens of the county and citizens of this country, we've got to stand united in this regard.
Time.
If there's anyone in the audience that feels like I do,
Time, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, I would ask that you show some respect for speakers. We're showing the same for you. Next person on the list is Gladys McCauley.
Hello, my name is Gladys McCauley. I live at 2100 Eafton Lane, Sanford, North Carolina. I'm here about the redistricting. Without a public hearing on Plan F, Lee County voters were denied the ability to ask questions, provide alternatives, and hold the board accountable before it votes on the adoption of Plan F. Lee County Commissioners should forego the potentially discriminatory Plan F and instead pursue options to protect all Lee County voters. Minority-majority districts deserve a voice. Do not dilute the voice of communities of color. We vote for our commissioners, trusting that they're going to do what's right for the citizens of Lee County, not just simply operate on partisan levels. The Black community needs to be represented here in Lee County. And by adopting Plan F, you're diminishing and denying them a right and a place at the table. Please reconsider and listen to what we're saying, because this is important. We have to be able to trust that the folks that we elect and put in place are acting honorably. And if you don't have the trust of the community, it jeopardizes things going forward. We have a voice in this community. We pay taxes in this community. We work in this community. We volunteer in this community. We have a voice, we have a place, and we should be respected.
Thank you, ma'am. Next person on the list is Vonda Reeves.
My name is Vonda Reeves. I live at 2117 Jasny Drive in Sanford, North Carolina, and I'm here to speak on the redistricting. I'm here to ask the board not to vote for Map F. Plan F manipulates District 1 and undermines the ability for Black voters in Lee County to elect their candidate of choice. Under Plan F, it dilutes the power of the Black vote in this district, a district created with explicit purpose of allowing Black candidates to elect their candidate of choice in ways that potentially violate state and federal law. It also disenfranchises the poor in these areas. It limits their ability to fight for affordable housing, safe and accessible parks, and urban renewal. Plan F significantly decreases the Black population in District 1, diluting Black voting power while significantly increasing the white population. Lee County Commissioners should forego the potentially discriminatory Plan F and instead pursue options that protect all of Lee County voters. Do not silence the minority voters.
Thank you, ma'am. Next person on the list is Brenda Johnson.
Good evening. My name is Brenda Williams Johnson, and I reside at 815 West McIntosh Street in Sanford, North Carolina, and I reside in District 1. The same tactics of excluding Black voters that led Lee County to change its election methods and place the county under the scrutiny of the Voting Rights Act are at work again in the County Commissioner's proposed Plan F. Majority districts deserve a voice. And I ask that you do not dilute the voice of communities of color and reconsider. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Next individual on the list is Sandra Thompson. Sandra Thompson. Did I mispronounce your name?
Good afternoon. My name is Sandra Thompson. I live at 99 Ravens Nest Lane in Cameron, North Carolina. The points that have been made, I do support them. I totally agree that we should not do the redistricting that was voted on without it being seen by the people that represent this city. All of the other points that everyone has made, I do support those points. And I'm asking that it is reconsidered. We are taxpayers, and we deserve a right to be able to be represented the correct way. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Representative Leslie Cox.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That's former representative. I'm still retired from the last meeting. You know, the last time I was here.
Address, sir.
508 Old Town Drive.
Thank you.
Last time I was here, I was talking about it was time for a change. Well, this time I'm talking about it's not time for a change. When I was across the street going to school, an A stood for excellence. An F stood for failure. And I'm afraid what's going to happen if you vote for what you're talking about voting for tonight, your attorney better start eating her Wheaties, because it sounds like that map draws the most ire of the people in this county. So I'm talking about for 3 decades, Lee County District 1 has provided opportunities for black voters to elect candidates of their choice. You can also change your minds and you can vote for map A tonight. But what I would suggest you do is give this thing a little more air, give it a little more visibility, let the people see the maps, and don't spring in a failed map F on the end of this thing, because I think you've got lawsuits popping up all over the place, and you know, that's money that we can spend doing other things like building schools. So my suggestion is that you delay the vote on this tonight. You can call a meeting, you can have another meeting, you can certainly let the maps have a look-see by the public. If you're not going to do that, I think you're going to get an F on this map. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I understand we have emails, and I've asked the attorney to read those emails, please.
Yes, sir. The first email we received this afternoon, I've printed it for the board at your seat, and it's a letter from the Southern Coalition for Social Justice. It's a 3-page letter. I can read the email, and I think the board can read the letter, but it says that my name is Mitchell Brown, counsel of the Southern Coalition for Southern Coalition for Social Justice. On behalf of Ms. Brenda Johnson, we submit the attached letter as public comments for tonight's Board of Commissioner meeting regarding the board's proposed redistricting Plan F. So that is that one. Then we received another email, and this states, this is the email address you asked me for in order to send your comments below. Hello, my name is Cynthia Wooten, 800 West McIntosh Street, Sanford, NC. For more than 3 decades, Lee County's District 1 has provided opportunities for black voters to elect candidates of their choice. The Lee County Board of Commissioners 2021 redistricting process so far has lacked the transparency Lee County voters deserve. Commissioners have not only ignored warnings from the county attorney against drawing maps using partisan data for political gain, but also failed to solicit public comment on Plan F's potential changes to minority opportunity districts. Without a public hearing on Plan F, Lee County voters were denied the ability to ask questions, provide alternatives, and hold the board accountable before it votes on the adoption of Plan F on October 18th. The same tactics of excluding black voters that led Lee County to change its election methods and place the county under the scrutiny of the Voting Rights Act are at work again in the county commissioner's proposed Plan F. The board should instead consider other options like its proposed Plan A, which represents a map closest to the current composition of the districts, limits the population deviations of the commission districts to acceptable levels, and does the best job of preserving this black opportunity district. Next email received says, "Hi, my name is Carol Abbey. I live at 538 Perth Drive, Sanford, NC 27332. I'm speaking to encourage you to vote for Map A. For more than 3 decades, Lee County's District 1 has provided opportunity for Black voters to elect candidates of their choice. Map A helps ensures this continues. It represents a map closest to the current composition of the districts, limits the population deviations of the commission districts to acceptable levels, and does the best job of preserving the Black Opportunity District. Do not dilute the minority voice. Thank you." The next email says, "Hello, my name is Cleo Bryant. I live at 813 West McIntosh Street, Sanford, NC 27330. I'm here to ask the board not to vote for Map F. Plan F manipulates District 1 and undermines the ability for Black voters in Lee County to elect their candidate of choice. Under Plan F, dilutes the power of the Black vote in this district, a district created with the explicit purpose of allowing Black candidates to elect their candidate of choice in ways that potentially violate state and federal law. Plan F significantly decreases the Black population in District 1, minus 2.2%, diluting Black voting power while significantly increasing the white population, plus 3.8%. The Lee County Commissioners should forego the potentially discriminatory Plan F and instead pursue options that protect all Lee County voters. Do not silence minority voices. Thank you." The next email says, "Please read the comments about redistricting at the Lee County Board of Commissioners meeting tonight, October 18th. Thank you." It's Ann McCracken. Says, "Following a 1989 lawsuit that prompted fairer election methods, Lee County acknowledged the need to increase the opportunity for Black voters to elect candidates of their choice to the board, increasing the board to 7 commissioners and changing the method of election from at-large to a hybrid system of 4 single-member and 3 at-large districts. Since then, District 1 has been the board's only minority opportunity district and has consistently enabled Black voters to elect their candidate of choice. Under the proposed Plan F, commissioners have diluted the power of the Black vote in District 1 as a district created with the explicit purpose of allowing Black voters to elect their candidate of choice, and they have done this in ways that potentially violate state and federal law. For example, Plan F significantly decreases the Black population in District 1, minus 2.2%, diluting Black voting power while significantly increasing the white population, plus 3.8%. Commissioners have not only ignored warnings from the county attorney against drawing maps using partisan data for political gain, but also failed to solicit public comments on Plan F's potential changes to minority opportunity districts. Without a public hearing on Plan F, the Lee County voters were denied the ability to ask questions, provide alternatives, and hold the board accountable before it votes on the adoption of Plan F on October 18th. The same tactics of excluding Black voters that led Lee County to change its election methods and place the county under scrutiny of the Voting Rights Act are at work again in the county's commissioners' proposed Plan F. The board should instead consider other options like its proposed Plan A, which represents a map closest to the current composition of the districts, limits the population deviations of the commission districts to acceptable levels, and does the best job of preserving this Black opportunity district. In a democracy, the voices of all voters have the right to be heard. Don't undermine the right through an unfair manipulation of the redistricting process. Thank you, Ann McCracken. Then I received an email that didn't have any content. The next email, the Lee County Board of Commissioners 2021 redistricting process so far has lacked the transparency our Lee County voters expect and deserve. The commissioners have ignored warnings from the county attorney against drawing district maps using partisan data for political gain, and also failed to solicit public comment on Plan F's potential changes for minority opportunity districts. Without a public hearing on Plan F, Lee County voters were denied the opportunity to ask questions, suggest alternatives, and hold the board accountable for its votes on the adoption of Plan F on October 18th. What the commissioners are doing just doesn't pass the smell test. It stinks. John Kirkman. And 2 more. Hello, my name is Vonda Reeves. I live at 2117 Jasney Drive, Sanford, NC 273.
She's already spoke.
Yes, sir. The last email is from a bbadiyah@aol.com. Since then, District 1 has been the board's only minority opportunity district and has consistently enabled black voters to be able to elect their candidate of choice. And I have forwarded all of those emails to all the board members once I received them this afternoon.
Thank you, Madam Attorney. That concludes public comments. Next item on the agenda is the resolution for redistricting 2021 Plan F.
Good evening. We were requested the last meeting to prepare ordinance for the adoption of Plan F, and that's what we have for you here. But we also have, do we pull up Plan G now? Is that what you're looking for, Mr. Reeves?
Yes.
So we were asked after the last meeting to remove 50% of the population difference between Plan A and Plan F that was moved into District, or moved from District 2 into District 1. There was a total of 647 population. Half of that, 50%, would be 324. We were able to remove 316, which is 49%. That was as close as we could get with the way that the census blocks are drawn. So Plan G then is the removal of 50%, or excuse me, 49% of the population difference between Plan A and Plan F. So after that, I'll move that so we can see Plan A, Plan F, and then the compromise Plan G. And we have Plan A there because we were looking at that difference between both.
So are we open for discussion?
We haven't made a motion yet. Any questions for Mr. Kovacic?
Well, it's a bit confusing. You say we haven't made a motion yet.
Correct.
I move that we adopt Plan A.
Motion has been made to adopt Plan A. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Any discussion? Yes, sir.
Oh, you're talking to me. Yes. Let me ask you on Plan A was the one of the first 4 maps the staff provided us.
Yes, sir. Plan A, we changed it the least that we could to bring the plan within approved deviation. So it was just the difference between District 3, that I believe was 12% over, and District 1, which was 12% under. We pulled in those census blocks at the southern part of District 1 to create a plan that was in proper deviation. The the least change.
Any other questions,
And
discussion?
so on Plan A, I guess you call those, are those the fingertips
Yes,
that were created?
those that you see up there, the blue line is what the current line is.
Right.
That blue line was what you approved in 2011 when we went through this redistricting process the last time. So in all the plans, it's the dark blue line that is the current commissioner district boundaries.
Okay, and if you look at F, that's where the add-on took place, I suppose, the fingers.
F,
Yeah.
the area between those two fingers was pulled into District 2, and we moved some of the population that follows the 421 bypass that was District 4. We moved that into 2 because we removed population from District 2. And we couldn't keep the plan in proper deviation without moving District 2 into a former area that was District 4 at the 421 bypass.
I don't know how that came about, but I do find it somewhat strikingly interesting that when I have a document that I was looking at a few minutes ago that says that the black population, voting population, was reduced 3.8. Yeah, had decreased by 3.8%, minority population, and that the F in search, 3.8% more whites, an even exchange, and I don't understand how that came about.
Any other questions?
Yes, I got a question. So
We haven't got that one answered yet.
Yeah. And I'll hold my question until we get an answer to Mr. Reeves' question.
Staff did not draw the lines for Project F.
Well, that's part of the
We were
problem.
asked to put these lines in place for MAP F.
Well, that's part of the problem. I don't know how they came about, and it's interesting that the numbers match equally. So where did they come from?
I think when we look at F, we're just trying to keep contiguous and use boundaries, the closest, biggest highway boundary. I think that's the only way. And just look at the number of total population to make sure that it meets or falls into the what's the parameters?
Compactness. So somewhere along the line, I heard that this thing was supposed to be compact. Am I correct about that? That was a goal. That was a goal.
That is one of the criteria that we use.
Okay. So in MAP A, basically, correct me if I'm wrong, but MAP A, from what I understand, you move one line to get the numbers that we needed.
Pretty much so, yes.
Okay. And would it be fair to say that we moved more than 2 or possibly 3 lines to get MAP F?
Yes, sir.
So I think compact just went out the window. And that's not directed towards you. That's directed toward whoever said it was supposed to be compact. And I have another question. This will be directed to the board members who may support Plan F. Someone tell me why this is the best map for Lee County.
Well, we looked at compactness.
Well, that argument was just made. That don't work.
And if you notice, and I'm making a statement here, if you notice, Plan A has those fingers that give it that gerrymandered look. So. But the districts are compacted that way.
But we moved more lines in Plan F than in Plan A. This man right here that we pay good money to figure this stuff out just said that.
And there's an issue with moving lines? That's a question.
Excuse me?
There's an issue with moving lines? That's a question.
I don't know what the end game here. Well, yeah, I do. I do know what the end game is here.
Well,
Hold on. Let me finish.
All right.
You do this to me all the time.
All right.
I think the end game is to try to put Mr. Reeves out in the next election. It's glaringly evident, and I think it's a shame. I think it's morally, ethically wrong. The man served this county for 27 years, and he's got more knowledge than anybody us put together on this board about running Lee County. And I don't care how smart you think you are. But it's wrong what you're trying to do. And I know you got the votes. And your Plan F's going to pass tonight. Sorry, folks. But I feel like I need to say something in Mr. Reeves' defense. That's what's going on if you don't know.
Any other discussion?
Thank you, Commissioner Sharp. Yeah, I want to comment on your A looks like gerrymandering. And so you think filling in the blank on F makes it look more acceptable when you, in fact, pack F with this exact same percentage of white voters compared to the exact same percentage of black voters that I lost in District 1. And you don't think that looks like gerrymandering? You don't need to smile at me. I'm not interested in your smile. I just want to know, how do you think that's any different than what you already suggested about A? And I think the staff did a wonderful job in bringing A together because the numbers, populations, are about as fair as they can be.
Any other discussion? Motion's on the table to adopt Plan A. All those in favor signify by raising your hand, please. All those opposed? Thank you, Madam Chair, or excuse me,
I'd
Madam
like
Clerk.
the record to show that I would also offer a motion for Plan G to be
Motion's
considered.
been made to offer Plan G. Discussion, sir.
I'm offering Plan G as a compromise. I don't think that this county ought to be subjected to this type of publicity when we're doing so well in every other aspect. I'm offering this compromise because I would prefer having A, and it got voted down. G is the next acceptable map for me. That's why I offered that motion.
And 2 weeks ago, I warned about transparency and the possibility of a lawsuit. And here we are today with a piece of paper laid in front of us when we get here about that possibility. Just want to put that on the record as well.
Any other discussion? The motion's been made to approve Plan G for Commissioner Districts. All those in favor signify by raising your hand, please. All those opposed? Thank you.
I move to approve our vote on redistricting Plan F.
Motion's been made to approve the redistricting Plan F. Any discussion?
Does that also include adopt the resolution that is in the agenda packet?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Motion's been amended to adopt the resolution that's included in the packet. Discussion?
I asked a question a couple of minutes ago. Now we're on to you guys' plan. Tell me why this is the best map for Lee County. That's open to anybody.
Any response, please?
I think as the other maps as well do it does meet all the parameters, and it does take into account, I think, some future growth in there as well that may be coming, that may throw some things out of balance. I don't feel that this was set up as a map that is to, as you put it, oust Commissioner Reeves. I don't think that at all. I have nothing but the utmost respect for the gentleman. He's aware of that. So I think it's a good map. It meets all the parameters. It's compact. TDUS keeps the precincts. It also keeps a majority minority district. I think it's a good plan.
Well, I think about 10 people in this building believe what you just said about taking Mr. Reeves out of his district. And that's no disrespect to you. But I think there's about 10 who believe that.
You know, when you mentioned the compactness, and I'm sitting here looking at those three maps, A, F, and G, quite honestly, G looks the neatest.
And I think compact is the word you're looking for.
That's what I said.
Yeah, okay.
The most compact. Yeah, most compact. When you look at it, if that's what you're going by, because initially you said A looked like it was gerrymandered, and you fill in the void in District 1 with white voters, same amount of black voters that were lost. And then I offer a compromise in map G, looks much neater, and the numbers are more acceptable. Would one of you explain why that F is more appealing in terms of compactness? There's no pitch hitter?
I'd like to try.
Should have known.
First of all, the idea of compactness, I'm not sure I understand what Commissioner Sharp is talking about moving boundaries, et cetera, but the idea of compactness just has to do with the smoothness by which the district is drawn. And as Commissioner Reeves has noted, obviously Plan A is not extremely smooth, and so we're motivated at the beginning of the process, first of all, to make sure that we meet the distribution of people in each area. That's how we start. And then you look at the infinite number of possibilities. There are just so many. Why is F an acceptable one? Because there are lots of acceptable ones. Even like Commissioner Reeves says, G would fall in that acceptable category. Okay, why did we pick F? The way that design was based on the two roads that define the northeast boundary of District 1. And there is an issue in making these choices that talks about picking natural boundaries. The way G was selected was to look at the count of people in the, what are they called, Mr. Kvasek? The
Census tracts.
The census tracts.
Census blocks.
Census blocks, and figure out a number that makes it work. I would suggest that using the boundaries, which is one of the things that's specified in the law, is appropriate. Those are natural boundaries defined by the road. That votes in the right direction. There are other aspects of it that when I look at F, make me feel like it was a good choice. For example, I'm in District 3, we maintained precinct integrity rather than chopping off part of Carolina Trace in order to place it in District 2. That's another reason why the whole thing was designed. And then finally, the issue of once you decide that compactness is appropriate for District 1, you have to go and find some additional population in order to bring District 2 back to the numbers that are required. So a natural choice of that is picking that boundary that we did and move the population from the north part of District 4 back into District 2. So to some degree, it's almost like we need to get the cars and the train aligned. The engine that's driving the Voters' Rights Act talks first about distribution of population. That's achieved. It talks about compactness. It talks about continuity. It talks about legitimate boundaries. And then Section 2 goes back and says, you know, you ought to go back and make sure that you haven't unintentionally disenfranchised someone. And I think that's your issue, that somehow this has disenfranchised you. But when you look at the percentages in District 1 with Commissioner Reeves' reputation, I think it's hard to imagine that he wouldn't be reelected in District 1. Now, that's an opinion, and we won't know until the next election. But all those thoughts went through my mind when I looked at Plan F. I think there's a good argument why Plan F is presented based on the Voting Rights Act.
But you're the only one that's stepping up to defend it. And I think, and for the record, I think that everybody in the whole building understood what I said earlier but you. And you said these lines are pretty smooth. I'll agree, kind of slick. Like these maps are drawn up, slick.
Any further discussion?
I'd just like to add one comment. What I have just argued to you came out of my understanding of what the Voters' Rights Act is. And if someday we have to stand in front of a judge and justify why we picked it, everything that I've said is consistent with that. There was no motivation at the beginning of designing this plan to intentionally disenfranchise anybody. And when we got finished, we looked at how many, what the percentages of the population are, and there was not a significant change in it. So it wasn't a question of being slick or whatever. It's just a question of picking one that I think works. All I can tell you is how I did it when I was working with other people sitting here trying to figure one out.
Well, but judging by this that was thrown in front of me when I got here today, somebody's going to have to defend it. It looks like. I don't know. Hopefully not, but somebody's going to have to defend it.
Let me ask again, Mr. Director, I had requested some voting age population vote percentages. Are they in this map?
They're not on those statistics, but we do have those available.
And I forwarded them to all the board members this afternoon.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you, Council.
I forwarded that information to all the board members as well this afternoon, the voting age population.
Would you cover that for us?
Yeah.
Sir.
Do you have it?
We can look at each of these individually to start out with.
That's fine.
This setup looks very similar to how we did the breakdown of just population. we were able to pull from the census block data the age 18 years and older, which is considered voting age. The numbers that we are showing here are not the number of voters, not the number of registered voters. The numbers that we are showing here are strictly those that are 18 years or older from the 2020 census. So if you look, we'll just look at that top line. Do I have a pointer? Kelly? Do I have a pointer? No, you're good. No, you were good with your, I just want to know if we have a pointer on here. Take us back, please. No. There we go. I'll take it from there. Can you start the actual PowerPoint? There we go. Thank you. Oh, here we go. All right, the first number that you see there, the total, let's just look at District 1, since it's right there on the left, up at the top. The total population is 15,397. The population that is 18 years or older is 11,000. So then when you look down at the breakdown, white, black, American Indian, Asian, Hawaiian, other, Hispanic, and minority, where it shows W18 plus years, that's white 18 years or older. And the percentage that is beside that is not the percentage of the population in that district, but it's the percentage of the 18 years or older. So it can get a little confusing, but you need to keep the total for each district and the 18 years total separate when you're looking at the percentages as you go down. Does that make sense?
Yes. What my understanding is you're not worried about what party or whether they're registered or not. It is the potential number of people that could vote in that area.
We are not looking at any voter data,
right,
or necessarily potential. When we are pulling this data, we are only pulling those that are 18 years or older.
But I thought I was saying the same thing. I was saying that 18 and older who had the potential that could vote.
Correct. But Mr. Reeves, I'm not going to mention voting or politics in our numbers.
Fine. No, that's fine. But that's what it means.
Yes.
That's what it means.
So, I don't know how you want to look at these numbers broken down between A, F, and G, but then we have them all three on one slide. And even with my glasses on, it's really difficult for me to read that. So that's why we put them all in here in the large ones too.
Well, let's do this. And here's a point that I'm making about the significant change that F creates in the district. Look at the black-white 18 and older percentages on all three. Or do you understand?
Yes, sir, I see. In Plan A, the total number of 18 years and older, 11,167.
All right.
We are showing the white population as 32.2%, the white older, or 18 years or older at 32.2.
Right.
And the black population, 18 or older at 34.5%.
Right.
In Plan F, we're looking at a total of 11,660 population, 18 years or older. And again, this is for District 1. 33.6% white, and 33.5% black. That's the percentage of the population 18 years or older. So then in G, we are looking at a population of 18 years or older at 11,411, with a white percentage of the 18 years or older, 33.3%, and the black percentage as being 33.6%. And that's just for District 1.
But when you go back to F, that percentage of black and white, 33.5% of those people
18 years or older.
Right. It's 33.5%.
That is correct.
And the white population is 33.6.
That is correct.
That difference is what I'm talking about when you look at map G versus map F. And while I'm addressing that, if you look at the finger up in the upper left-hand corner at Plan A and look over at Plan G up in the same corner, they're not there. That group of people are not there. That finger is gone. If you look at Plan F, the finger is still there and filled in even further within District 2 to be placed into District 1. Am I reading that right?
That's correct.
All right.
Any other questions?
Here's a concern I have. 2 weeks ago, I asked, would you have changed anything on the plans that you brought forward? I know I'm young to this board, but I ran for the people, and I was hoping we could get together as a board more equal in a lot of things for the people instead of partisanship. The last plans that would come about, you kept saying we. I wouldn't want one of those we. A lot of things, y'all are going to different meetings and come to things, and we are not involved. You're putting one party in. I got elected for you, the people out there. As a firefighter, when I was there, as a sheriff's deputy, I didn't care. I didn't ask you if you're a Democrat or Republican. They didn't ask me because they wanted their help, my help. And I think that's what we're neglecting here in this thing. We're degrading Don and Whitney and our county manager for hiring these thinking they weren't the best. For some reason, we had to come up and say, you're not good enough, Don. Your plans you came up with aren't good enough. And that's disheartening me for sitting on this board, representing people that we're supposed to be coming together. This is very partisan right here. It's simply that, folks. He had some good plans. If we would have voted on one of his plans, we wouldn't have to be sitting here having this discussion whatsoever. And that hurts me as one of the board members, because we've done a lot of good things together. We really have. But I don't see why we had to go over this man's head and our council of coming up with different plans. That's my concern about the whole thing.
Any other comments?
One comment regarding what you had to say. We did accept Plan A initially, and it got voted down. And we're thankful for the effort you applied in bringing those first 4 maps together.
Yes.
We were outnumbered and outvoted.
That's the comment about partisanship.
Call the question.
Question's been called. On the zoning map amendment application as well as the ordinance, all those in favor signify by raising your hand. Those opposed? Thank you. Moving on to the next item on the agenda is a request to begin installation of In God We Trust motto.
I can do that if the board would like. So we were contacted that the the U.S. Motto Action Committee was ready to begin the installation of the lettering at the courthouse and the county administration building and the commissioners' chambers, but I'm assuming they're going to hold off at the commissioners' chambers right now. So I have the resolution that's on the that the board adopted back in January, and at your table, as part of the resolution, we said that we would have a mutually agreed upon writing before the installation begins, and so that is at your seat. And they have submitted pictures which are in the agenda packet for the board's approval.
Any questions? Do I hear a motion?
Move to approve.
Motion's been made to approve the memorandum of understanding between the County of Lee and the U.S. Motto Action Committee. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Next item on for new business is a grant for a drain field easement on property owned at 9641623897.
Yes, that's me as well. So we were contacted a couple of weeks ago about a request for to grant an easement to a neighboring a property owner for the drain field, and I had to go do some digging and research within the minutes and talk to Mr. Joyce and Skip Green, but what I've able to determine is that the county owns a land lot located at 13 Ivy Drive off of Bueller Brown Road. The individual across the street located at 3511 Ivy Drive has requested that we grant an easement for her septic tank that impacts our land. After receiving the request, we did the research, and so you'll see minutes from November 16th, 1992, in which the county sought a CDBG grant for the Bueller Brown Road area for housing, rehab, relocation, water line extension, and road improvements. Then in 1993, there's information in the minutes that the county purchased Lot 13 off of Ivy Drive from Camco Builders for just compensation. And then in 1996, at the board meeting, Mr. Hull had approached the board about surplusing that property, and as so indicated that the lot was purchased to provide areas for septic tanks and drain fields in connection with the CDBG grant. And so the homeowner that utilized the Lee County's land is the same owner, from my understanding, from the 1990s. At least it's the same family, and their house has recently burned, and environmental health could not find a recorded easement, and the policies of requiring an easement have changed, and so we're now just asking the board to allow the extension, or to grant the easement and authorize the chair to sign any paperwork.
Do I hear a motion to approve the easement?
So moved.
Motion's been made to grant a drain field easement on property owned at Lot 13 Ivy Drive. All those in favor signify by, any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Manager's report. Mrs. Minter.
You have before you the September 2021 financial report. As you will see on that report, we are running about 2.17% ahead of the same period last year for ad valorem tax collections. And again, I think this is timing and the fact that we are fully open again. In reviewing expenditures, our target is 25%. As we've explained, with encumbrances included, we have several departments that are over. However, if we exclude encumbrances, we only have 3 departments that are over at this time. Governing body is overdue to annual dues that have been paid. Internal services is overdue to copier expense and retiree insurance. IT is overdue the target due to the annual maintenance contracts and the purchase of equipment at this time. I'll be glad to answer any questions you may have on the financial report before I go to sales tax.
Any questions for Ms. Minter?
If not, you also have the sales tax reports there that show our collections through the month of July. And as you can see, we are still seeing a significant growth. This July over last July, we're still at 17.83%, overall 17.68% for Lee County by itself. And countywide, we are in the same percentage area of 17.3% growth. So we continue to do well and hope that people will continue to spend their money in Lee County.
Any questions for Lisa on the sales tax revenue?
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. County Manager's monthly report, please, sir.
Yes, sir. Staff is busy, and thank you to the board, all the board members who were able to make it out to the Kiwanis Children's Park reopening, ribbon cutting. I can tell you a lot of the commissioners had a really good time participating in all the events out there. So it was a great event, and appreciate y'all's support. On the ongoing projects, at the courthouse, the renovations continue in the old Register of Deeds, district attorneys, and magistrate courtroom areas. We feel like those areas should be completed soon. We've been talking about when to do an open house for all those renovations that occurred, including Board of Elections, Register of Deeds, district attorney, and the clerk of court. So if we're talking about that, that means we're getting close. The work on phase 1 and 2 at the government center got delayed, and we should be finished next week, October 22nd, and then should be moving on to phase 3. We still expect the work at the government center to be finished sometime late March. We did receive word on the historic courthouse grant last week that Triangle J has been notified that the federal funds hopefully be released soon. Once those funds are released, we can begin construction design, and hopefully we can bid this project sometime in the spring and have work done in the summer. Library, the new library staff is currently working on contract with Vines Architecture, which we plan to present to the board at the November 1st board meeting. And we're currently reviewing the RFQ responses for the construction manager at risk responses that came to us. The parking lot projects, the Douglas Drive project is essentially finished. We have some striping and some other things to do to get finished there. The courthouse project, the 2 parking lots there are ongoing, and the project at the government center has started, and a lot is going on over there at the government center. If you haven't been there, there's a lot of issues going on with parking and traffic out in front of the building, so be careful if you head that way. The Bob Hale Center project for Parks and Rec is essentially complete. We're working on some punch list items, and hopefully we'll have furniture soon. Furniture is probably on a container in the Los Angeles port or something, because we don't know when it's going to get here, but hopefully it'll get here soon. We are in contact with someone to give us an estimate on putting AC in the gym. So that could be important come spring if we use the Hale Center as a one-stop and we have a primary in May. Could be a little toasty in there. Horton Pool design continues, and we hope to have some more action on that sometime in December. Master Park plans, I said, we're essentially finished at Kiwanis Children's Park, doing a couple of punch list items there. Horton Park is almost finished, and I think the staff, after having such a great time at Kiwanis Children's Park, has decided they want to do a ribbon cutting there as well. Even we'll do a small version of what we did at Kiwanis Children's Park, but still looking forward to the big opening when we soon on the firm we would like to use. COVID update, I'd like to thank Heath and his staff. I got a question from the chairman last week about some data. Y'all pull that up for me? That looks great. Do I need to point it that way? I want to change the slide. All right, on the first slide here, the case demographic update. This is the cases per month from September 2020 to September 2021. You can see the spikes that have gone along. If we could extend that out into October, you would see that continuing a downward trend. Next slide, please. Weekly case count by age. This doesn't show up real well in what was printed out because it wasn't printed in color, but the red line is the ages 18 to 49, and as you can see that since the 1st of July, that was the big increase in cases by age. And you can see that the age group that we heavily focused on vaccination, which is age 50 and over, those populations fared very well over the last couple of months. Next slide, please. This is kind of a busy pie chart for both of these, but this is the positive cases by age and time period, and by percentages, and really what this is showing you is the increase in the percentage of 42% to 52% in that age group of 19 to 44, and the increase in the age group of 5 to 18. So the other groups increased a little, but not as much. And then you can see the 45 to 65 actually went down. Next slide, please. Well, this is weekly case count by race. This this was one of the questions that was asked of us to take a look at. And if you look at the different colors of the bar, the white population still makes up a majority of our cases. And when you see the other, that's the orange, that's mostly the Latin Hispanic community. So it's kind of evenly distributed. As the numbers are going up, it's evenly distributed in the population, and as it's going down, it's evenly distributed as well. Next one, this is weekly case count by ethnicity. So this gets the Hispanic and non-Hispanic, and then missing aren't missing people. Those are just, we don't have the data for those people. And as you can see, once again, it's going up and down with the Hispanic and non-Hispanic. The percentages between it are pretty much staying the same. Next slide, please. Weekly case by gender. Females still make up a majority of our cases in most instances. That's kind of changed over the last couple weeks, but if you remember back when we did our initial reports, females outnumbered males in those reports. Next slide, please. Weekly breakthrough cases. These are the vaccinated people who are getting the COVID. And as you can see, there was a spike in August, and that has come down considerably here into October. Next slide, please. So this just compares the breakthrough and the total cases. So you can see when our breakthrough cases started, which was around the 1st of July. Happy 4th of July. I have the health director here if there are any questions from that data.
Nice picture.
That is a great picture.
Nice picture. Any questions on the data regarding the county demographics regarding COVID-19?
I just have one on the Bob Hale Center. There was going to be a rec room for 18 and older. I can't remember what.
Yes, sir. There's a classroom, rec room. That was the addition that we did with the base. So that is complete, and that is air conditioned. Mm-hmm. We're waiting for the furniture and the electronics to come that we've ordered, and then that will be finished. And we did make a presentation at City Council that was last Tuesday, mm-hmm. and to discuss with Mr. Buckles getting together and trying to move back forward with the program that he had discussed about, trying to use that on Friday and Saturday nights. So we're getting ready to start having those discussions with them.
Will there be any equipment purchased? Workout equipment?
I don't know yet. I don't know what the plan is there. Obviously, they'd have use of the gym and whatever, basketball, volleyball, pickleball, kind of things they can do in the gym. And then obviously the classroom space with the electronics in there.
All right, thank you.
Just to follow up a little bit longer, Mr. Chairman, on the COVID update, we've had to date 9,332 cases in Lee County. Last week, we're up 108, total deaths in Lee County 105, and our positivity rate is at 8%. We're over 50% now fully vaccinated. 33,113 people are fully vaccinated in Lee County. Moving on from COVID to the Sandley bike trails. I was out on Thursday on a test run and rode both trails. The green line, beginner line, is what we call Trail 1 is finished. What we were calling the green level jump line, which is Trail 2, which is actually going to be classified as a blue line, which makes it an intermediate or low level intermediate. I rode that as well, and actually got a little scared on that one for my age. It was quite spectacular. It was fun. So we're meeting tomorrow afternoon to talk about when we can open those two trails up to the public and how we would do that. And work has begun on the intermediate, higher level jump lines. So we're still looking at trying to get all the lines finished around Thanksgiving, may go over into the first or second week of December before they're complete. Met with staff and we talked about our upcoming meeting schedule. And what brought that up was, again, we had some discussions about the December 6th board meeting. That is once again on the same night as the Sanford Christmas Parade. It's always been an issue with us about whether that would work out or not. And looking forward at our agenda items, I'm making the proposal to the board that we meet once in December, because the third meeting would actually be the week of Christmas. And we're offering to the board that we have one meeting in December, and it would be on Monday, December 13th. And then in January, due to conflicts with the New Year's holiday and Martin Luther King holiday, we are proposing that we move those meetings to the second Monday and the fourth Monday. So that would make the January meetings on January 10th and January 24th. And if we keep our normal schedule for the budget kickoff retreat meeting, that would be January 27th and 28th. So that would require action of the board to change those meeting dates.
Do I have a motion to change the meeting dates to December 13th and the second and fourth Monday in January?
So moved.
Motion, and add the issue on the retreat on the 26th and 7th, did you say?
27th and 28th.
27th, 28th. Motion's been made. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Anything
All right,
else, sir?
Yes, sir. One last item. It's not on my report, but I'd like to talk about the redistricting process. A few weeks ago, it was discussed that not many counties are using in-house staff to do the redistricting process anymore. And I think the partisanship and some things that are going on makes it difficult. That's why fewer and fewer counties, I've talked to some of my other county managers who've said that they are now currently using consultants to do their redistricting. So although I will not be here in 2030, that's a tough number to come up with, 2030. I'd like, for the record to show that I think that the board needs to go through a process of hiring an independent third-party consultant to draw the maps the next time around and get your staff out of the middle of it. So that's just my opinion. I hope whoever's on the board will take that opinion and run with it at that time in 2030, but it's been a tough few weeks for the staff. And I know it's been tough on the commissioners as well and tough on the public. But I think getting the staff out of the middle and getting a consultant to it would be the best thing for the county going forward.
Thank
That's
you,
my
sir.
report, sir.
Thank you. Any questions of the manager? We do have a closed session, so I will start with commissioners' comments. Commissioner Carver.
I just want to tell you how much of a good time I think we had out at Kiwanis Park. It's, as I've said before, if every event was like out there at Kiwanis Park, it'd be a good reason to try to get reelected. It was really a good time, and I just really applaud the people who were involved in doing all the planning. And I'll tell you, when I walked onto the park, just the feeling of, man, this is great. It's just a good feeling. Everything's crisp. And then later on this week, I went over there and saw probably 50 people out there, kids all over that thing. So I think we knocked that one out of the park. I'm just appreciative. That's all.
Commissioner Connect.
I just want to again emphasize good work that our health board director and the staff have been doing, how much they're appreciated, and also like to spread my condolences to Whitney. Thank you.
Commissioner LaValle.
Yes. I would just like to say that Plan F met the criteria. It met what needed to be met, and I strongly object any untrue claims that this was an effort to remove a commissioner from a seat. It's untrue and it's unfounded, and I object that claim. I want to make that very public. Thank you.
Commissioner Sharp.
Well, I want to make it very clear and to rebut what Ms. LaValle said. I mean, it's been that way for 8 or 10 years that was the plan. But anyway, moving on. A shout out to Lee County Schools Superintendent Brian for putting together a plan to award the teachers a bonus with the COVID the rescue money. Anyone who had 25 plus years would be getting $5,000, and the plan, the less time you have, the less money you get, but still, it was more than we could do, more than we could stomach during our workshop. We couldn't do that, and it's a shame that we couldn't. But I'm going to thank the Board of Education for doing that, and thank you to the teachers.
Commissioner Reeves.
I'd just like to thank the public for coming out tonight and having their say at least, and thank the board for allowing them to do so, even though it seemed to be resisting initially, but I thank the public for coming out anyway.
Commissioner Lovick.
As Commissioner Carver stated, what a great day, and a couple more of you guys came out. What a great day for Kiwanis Children's Park. That's what people coming into Lee County are expecting. That's what they look at when they come here, and that was a great event, and makes you feel how old you are sometimes when you get out there, but very nice. Our staff, thank you always. Thank you for what you've done. I like to say that every time. I hope it doesn't get old to you, but thank you so much. And again, the people that came out tonight, that's your right, and that's what you need to do. Both sides. I'll say that plainly. Both sides, all of your citizens that came out tonight and expressed on either side of you. Thank you for that. And I just hate we couldn't come together more as a board and recognize we have great staff and their recommendations on that. But we will push on, and we'll keep on, and we're going to do the right things for our citizens, I believe. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Got a lot of things here. Today started the crisis intervention team training at the Central Carolina Emergency Training Center. We have 3 Lee County deputies attending, 7 Sanford Police Department, and 5 from the Greensboro Police Department. Friday morning, I judged a quilt to award the Commissioner's Choice. I believe Haley's going to be posting that so we can all see it. my criteria on the judging was the amount of work put into it, and it had family, friends, peace, and more religious phrases on there. But the extensive amount of work that was put into it was overwhelming. Attended ribbon cutting at Kiwanis Park, as we mentioned earlier. On Saturday, Broadway unearthed a time capsule 50-plus years later. They were supposed to do it last year, but with COVID, it got tied up. And needless to say, the contents were seriously damaged by water. Had something to do with somebody putting a hole in the water tank with a 30-06 and it being submerged in at least 30 inches of water. But I did point out that my neighbor Cecil Cameron was one of the young men that dug the hole and put it in there. So I sicked a reporter on him. And for those of you that haven't gone up 15501, the bridge is 78% complete. You can cross the new bridge, and they are working on dismantling the old bridge. So enjoy the trip north. The Sand Hills The Sand Hills Center received permission from the Secretary of the Department of Health and Human Services to expand our board to 5 more members. That will include members from Davidson and Rockingham counties. The Triangle South Workforce Development Board is working to merge Lee County and Chatham County, hopefully in the future, with another area. Right now, Central Carolina Community College is the administrator, and due to the fact that they are the administrator, they cannot provide services to those who are looking for job opportunities. So they're exempt from providing services, which we know they are fully qualified to do. That being said, Chatham, Lee, and Harnett campuses cannot participate in the workforce development program. So the intent is to work toward a merger with local areas, one of them being the capital area and the other being the Central Carolina Council of Governments. We will need an approval from this board eventually when it all comes to fruition, not only from the boards moving into the other districts, but also the other workforce development boards. Their commissioners will be required to give permission. So that's going to be a work in progress. As for the redistricting, all I can say is we are, as a nation, moving more and more into tribalism. I was thoroughly disappointed in some of the comments, because to say that only a certain person can vote for a certain type of person is wrong, because I do know for a fact that Dr. Ricky Frazier was a candidate at large and had won a seat in this county. So we are moving forward. There was no intent to dethrone or take anyone out of their district. We were talking about such percentages that were so small that essentially it's, well, you've always heard the old adage of government business is like watching sausage being made, and I apologize for that, but that seems to be what happened this evening. So that being said, Madam Vice Chair.
I move that we go into closed session for NC General Statute 143-318-11A4 to discuss the location or expansion of business, and per 143-318-11A6 to discuss a personnel matter.
Motion has been made to go into closed session. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Can we take a 10-minute recess, please?